Before we talk about starting a farm, let's first understand what permaculture really is. Permaculture is more than just organic farming, it's a holistic design system based on three ethics. Number one is earth care: protect and regenerate the land, the soil, the water, and life. All life. And then the second one is people care. Look after yourself, your family, your workers, and your community. And fair share. Take only what you need and return the surplus to support others and the environment. And so I took a whole year to learn about permaculture before I actually started farming in permaculture design. I had no clue what it was when I first reached out to the consultant. And so when we spoke in 2020, beginning of 2020, when we were, during the pandemic and we were on shutdown, he explained a little bit to me. So I said, okay, I'll come back to you. So I took time to learn. And there's a lot of videos online that you can learn from. People teach permaculture throughout. But I actually invested in myself and learned about permaculture in that whole year. In the meantime, I was also making preparations for how do I do this farming if I want to do it, working out a business plan and all that stuff. A lot of times people don't think that, farming requires a business plan and different things. Most people think I can just grow the crops and then sell them and then they'll sell. It doesn't work that way. If you're really trying to run a successful farming business, you've got to incorporate all these business principles that we'll be sharing throughout these series. All right, so in Africa, permaculture often means working within harsh conditions. And sometimes there's droughts, sometimes there's poor soils or unpredictable rainfall. I've experienced the unpredictable rainfall challenge. The drought, we recently experienced that at one of our farms in 2023. And so I know what that means. And I thank God that we had water, we invested in water sources that we were able to use and utilize during that time. That's why we didn't lose our crop. So there's things that, you'll need to understand, things that you'll need to know, plan. In farming, you have the plan A, but you may also have to have a plan B in case plan A doesn't work, in case there's a drought, in case there's no rainfall. What do we do? So you can't just sit there and leave everything to fate and say, well, it didn't rain this year, so we have no crop. And I've seen that happen where people lose their entire crop because they were depending on one water source. And so we'll talk about that as we go forward. You know, One of the things about Africa, in the African context, farming, the farming systems, when you think about it, there was sustainable long before the term permaculture existed. So it's not like the farming systems have been, are existing now because of permaculture existing. No, they were there way before, long before permaculture existed. In fact, a lot of African farmers already know intercropping. They already know mulching and water harvesting and agroforestry. They know that. Most of them didn't even go to school, but they know that. Permaculture simply refines these ideas into a system that helps you plan and manage your farm intelligently. So the goal is a farm that, when you're thinking about a permaculture farm, the goal is a farm that will, produces abundant food throughout the year, not just seasonal, or one season per year, monoculture. No, throughout the year. Also, you want a farm that restores the soil, also conserves water. Also, it creates income streams. You're not just farming to just farm. Yes, you'll be eating from there, but it should also, sustain you financially, economically. And also, you want a farm that supports the community. And so, there's some examples of farms that you can think of in Africa, like moringa-based food forests. In Malawi, there's some, and of course, there's some. I know I saw a story on of a guy who left the U.S. and is farming. I believe it's in Kenya, and all he does is moringa farms, and he's made over $1 million just doing that. There's like keyhole gardens in dry regions like Kenya, also rainwater harvesting ponds like in Zambia. And so there's different things that can be done within, permaculture. And so I want you to understand something right from the get go, that initially you've got to really understand that it takes a lot of time and investment. It's not just about starting a farm and then thinking that the farm will work itself out. You've got to be able to invest financially. And I know most of you who I'm speaking to are prepared to invest financially or are already prepared, investing financially. But how do you get a return on your investment? It's not just about putting the money in, but you need to get a return on that investment. And that's the key to permaculture farming, the on the business side of it. Most people just look at the physical part of being on the ground, farming, growing crops and everything, and that's well and good, but you need to look at it from an economic angle and look at it from the fact that how will it sustain me financially if I invest in this? So this is where, when I work with people who are doing paid coaching, we work out all those details. We, forecast. So we do business plans. We work on different things, marketing plans, all that. We do that in that setting. So from start to finish, we can help you with starting your farm. Mapping out everything from day one to until your farm starts producing or generating revenue, and actually generating a profit. Yeah, so we work with that. My farm manager in Malawi, he also goes and does consultancies on farms, but that's paid. If you wanted him to do a consultancy on your farm, that's paid. So we'll be talking about this and more as we go forward. Now, I want to just leave you with some questions. How would you, or how do you define sustainability in your own words? What African farming techniques did your parents or grandparents use that could fit into permaculture? And so I want you to make a list of 3 problems facing farmers in your country of origin. And next to each, write how permaculture might solve that problem. So it might seem like this is nonsense for some of you, but I guarantee you this is how we start. If you can't do this research, if you can't even respond to these questions, then you're not ready for any type of farming. So I want to leave you with that, and we'll talk some more next time. God bless you. Have an awesome, awesome week. Bye-bye.